Good morning, everyone. We are on day 8, and I want to be sure to add someone. I'm going to do it this way because it sure seems like, here we go, it invites. There we go. Okay, I kind of like doing it that way better because it invites people in. So this is day 8 of Release What's Weighing You Down. And hang on, let me get out of here. And I jumped ahead because this went kind of hand in hand with some of the tapping we've been doing the last couple days. So Susan, you wrote, you mentioned anger, making sense, make sense, stuffing down the anger with food. Crying was okay as a child, but anger was definitely a nutty no-no. Love that. Logically, I know I've got anger, but I can't access it. I swear and punch pillows. Just feels disconnected, like I'm going through the motions without the emotions plugged in. Am I the only one who feels like this? The good girls don't get angry syndrome. Know any tips to trigger my inner rageaholic? I'd love to let her out. So, a couple things. Memories will trigger it if you go deep into memories. But here's the thing. What I think is going on here is there's a layer here that if the brain, you have a vow in place to not get angry. I have a family member. My parents fought like cats and dogs, like to the point that neighbors were like, "Were you girls okay?" And one of my siblings made a vow, like, to never be angry, ever. I'm never going to be angry again. Well, we can't really do that. We can't. I mean, we can make a vow, but this is when the anger sneaks out in these really odd ways. And this is where I would say to start to notice it. I know I've told the story on here of the time, and I'd been tapping by then. This was, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years ago. And I was at a storage unit when I was still in my corporate job, and I was unpacking these table lamps, the lighting for tables inside restaurants. And the styrofoam peanuts, which, oh my God, I've got to tap because I can't stand those things. They started sticking to the front of my jacket, and I was like freaking out, really freaking out. So, I mean, to the point that I just started to get so aggravated and so angry, and I'm just like doing this, and I noticed there were video cameras. So, long and short of it was like, ooh, I've got anger that's surfacing. So that's... when you notice it, you can think about memories, think about stuff in your family that was so unfair. You can call to mind all those situations where you weren't allowed your anger. One big thing for me that I never understood is how come my parents were allowed so much anger? Hey, Susan, this one's for you. I wanted to jump ahead and do this. Hey, lady. Why were my parents allowed all their rage and anger, but then when we would get angry, they'd come in and be like, "You, shh." Sorry, I can't even think about this now and not laugh because it's so ridiculous. But I had to tap my ass off on this. You have to be quiet. The neighbors will hear you. And I remember I was 13 one time when my dad came in and said that. And I was literally like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Like, you have torn doors off hinges and windows. It was the injustice of that really stirred me up. I was like, oh my God. Ruth, it looks like you're here too. So Susan, for you specifically, I would float back to times of absolute injustice and any memories. To just try and access anger through hitting, it's not going to do it. And I don't know if that's what you're doing. Tapping works best when the emotion is active. But what I think is happening here is there's a vow to not get angry. And if in your subconscious, you're convinced that good girls don't get angry and good girls are going to get in massive trouble if they get angry, there's no way you're going to right now allow yourself to access anger. I cannot tell you how many people I've worked with where I know there's a vow like this going on because when we try to go to the anger, they shut down immediately. And it's not to judge yourself. Oh my God, not to judge yourself, not to blame yourself. It's a vow that's there in some way that's like, and good girls don't get angry. And there's a secondary gain to not getting angry, which is I avoid punishment. Something like that. So let's tap on not allowing anger, because like I said, when I stopped practicing my eating disorder, it took a bit, but all of a sudden, rage just started bubbling up. And I want to say one other thing. I was in a 12-step group, Overeaters Anonymous then, and I was telling this guy that I noticed anger was starting to surface. And in Alcoholics Anonymous and in Overeaters Anonymous, they talk about justified anger. Well, I'm going to say it this way, even though I believe that the 12 steps were channeled in a way, like call it a divine download, it really was still downloaded by men. And men are allowed anger and rage. Men can be dicks and assholes, and we think, especially in corporate America, and we're like, oh, they're just doing their job, man. They're like a great CEO. Instead of like, no, they're a dick. But women do that, and it's like, she's a bitch. She's immediately a bitch if she's angry. I struggled with this myself. This might be a good thing to tap on. Can you own, because bitch is such a word that can trigger me, like, can you own your inner bitch? And not that I'm sitting here telling you, I don't think when women can I be a bitch, or can I be in such a way where I'm dysfunctional in my anger? Absolutely. But can I just be angry and be okay with it? So can you love and accept your inner bitch? Can you love and accept maybe the side of you that's going to go a little cuckoo being angry? It's a thought. So let's just start. Karate chop. Even though, hey Melinda, it is not okay to be angry. Good girls don't get angry. No, they don't. I choose to acknowledge I feel this way. Even though it is not okay to be angry, I will get in so much trouble for being angry. I might even be called a bitch. It's not safe to be angry. Even though I think I have a vow in place here. No. I'm not an angry person. I don't get angry. That's what I was taught to tell myself. And now I really want to access my anger. And I can't seem to do it. I choose to accept myself right now. So much anger that I know is in there. But I also know it's not safe to feel it. In fact, I'm a good girl. So I'm not allowed to feel it. I mean, men get to feel it. Because, they're just dudes that get angry. And that's okay. But I want to remind myself what total, utter bullshit that is. And I know that intellectually, but not so much emotionally yet. So I'm pretty sure I have a vow in place. Good girls don't get angry. Good girls are very prim. They're very proper. They're always kind to others. They're always sweet and demure. And they definitely always behave just right. They're kind and loving. They're very giving. They always extend themselves to others. I got taught some bullshit like that. I wasn't taught to own my inner manliness, my male energy. It's not about having to be a man to be angry. It's accessing my inner masculine. There's so much power in anger and even rage. It's a really helpful emotion, but just not for me. So right here and now, what if I can tell myself, I can learn to feel my anger as I learn to believe it's safe to be angry. And this might take practice, and I'll have to develop it over time. But what if it's possible? I can learn to allow my anger. And maybe one way I can see it is if I have emotional eating issues, if I struggle with weight, when I catch myself eating mindlessly, maybe then I'll see there's something going on for me. And what could possibly be bubbling up below the surface. And whatever that emotion is, just do my best to acknowledge it. And what if I can also let myself know that there's nothing wrong with anger? I may not believe this yet, but I could start right here and now by just saying to myself and tapping through this, there's nothing wrong with anger. It's one of many beautiful emotions that I am privileged to have. And when I learn to allow myself to tell myself a new story about anger, what if I can start to keep telling myself it's okay good girls get angry. In fact, good girls get fucking pissed off. And what if there's nothing wrong with that at all? Good girls feel everything. When they learn to allow themselves, learn to do for themselves what wasn't done for them, learn to honor every single emotion that we have. And just stop there and take a breath. Some of you know I'm really big. I know, Susan, I know you know this. I'm really big on what I call fuck you tapping, because I think it's so hugely helpful. Another way to access anger is just to ask yourself this question in a situation with a person. It's usually a person that stimulates the anger. It can be like a corporation or something like that. If you could say anything to this person, anything. In fact, put being appropriate on the shelf. This is your chance to let that wounded child in you have their say. What would you say to them? I can't tell you how many times when I've asked people this is how fuck you tapping came up, is they'd be like, I would say fuck you. Or I would say, it is astonishing to me how many people use those words, those two words, to say, that's what I would say. Or they would say some other variation. I'd say, fuck you, asshole. Or, and then you can tap on that. And it's like, let yourself have the temper tantrum. Let yourself feel that. And I mean, I say that, and trust me, if there's a vow in place, like, it's not okay to feel angry. But sometimes it's easier when you're by yourself. But just try that. But the first order that I would say is just to keep accessing. I have a vow that it's not okay to be angry. I have a vow that good girls don't get angry. And you will notice it's leaking out somewhere. Feelings aren't buried dead. They're buried alive. And you'll notice it like my story when it's like, oh, the styrofoam peanuts are getting stuck to the front of my jacket, and all of a sudden I'm freaking losing my shit. Like, oh my God, like that. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, woo, I got some anger going on below the surface. I think the key in particular, Susan, for what you brought up, and thank you so much for bringing up this topic, it's so important, is that it's like, I think I have a vow in place that it's not okay to be angry. And I can watch others get angry, but I can't. I can be on the receiving end of anger, but I can't. And the other thing is, for me, Susan, when my father was raging out, I would start to shut down because anger was so destructive in our family. And I was witnessing so much destruction around anger. I would tap on that too. Anger's destructive. Anger's really destructive. Well, anger can be destructive if it's left untapped, but anger can be highly productive and highly helpful. It's starting to tell yourself a story about anger. I mean, I could do like 100 videos on anger alone, I swear, and allowing ourselves to feel it. Telling yourself a story about, wow, anger's powerful. Anger's an energy. Anger can really help me get it done. You try and do that first, and then notice throughout the day when those little blips come, like, oh God, I felt a surge of anger. And take the judgment of self. This is always important, that it's not safe to feel it right now. If there's judgment of self going on, I can't access my anger, there must be something wrong with me. Say, I just can't yet. I can't. And let that little girl in you off the hook now, because she got barraged for feeling anger, and now she's getting barraged possibly for, well, you got to access your anger. It's the double-edged sword. So, Ruth, it's unsafe feeling it's that unsafe feeling as a child when you were dealing with angry parents. Totally. It's so true. Like, when you were the witness and on the receiving end of anger, it's like, oh my God. And that's why I say I have a sibling that made a vow to never feel angry. And I'm like, whoa. And I can see the anger is really stored in her body. So anyway, hope you found this helpful, ladies. See you next time. And like I said, I definitely think, Susan, anything else comes up, definitely post things around anger, and I'll get to those videos, if not in the 21 days in this, because I think anger is so hugely related to protecting ourselves with weight and emotional eating. It's absolutely huge, 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 huge. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.